Welcome once again to this weekend's podcast from TheTitleFight.com. My name is Gordy Tamayo, and I'm going to be going over a few of this past weekend's bouts and filling you in on how exciting this week in the boxing world has already started. First off, let's go back to this past weekend's Alexander versus Maidana undercard, where Mayweather-Perez and Adrian Broner put their undefeated records on the line. There was much anticipation as to how this fight would go, as both fighters are young and relatively untested in a questionable division where top opposition is fairly thin. Before the fight, Perez commented that he had superior foot speed, but we really didn't get to see that displayed as Perez chose to stand in front of Broner for the majority of the fight, leaving him in full control to dismantle him. The flashier and quicker Broner seemed to outclass the smaller opponent and really took his time in picking shots, outlanding Perez by a large margin. It only took Broner 4 rounds to get warmed up and catch Perez with the two-punch combination, leaving Perez battling to get his feet after several failed attempts and then the referee calling the fight. As much as I myself wanted to see Perez drop the confident and almost conceited Broner, I got to admit that this kid Broner, he's really fun to watch. He's got fast hands that pack a punch and a personality to go with it. Definitely adds dimension to the sport of boxing. Broner commented that what we seen was nothing more than a display of what happens when a good fighter steps into the ring with an elite fighter. Now, I myself still would like to see what Broner can do with an opponent who moves a little bit quicker and moves around a lot better than Perez did, and is equal in size to become a believer myself. After somewhat of a disappointing performance against Broner, Perez is taking no pauses and bouncing back as he is making a quick return on the scheduled undercard of Robert Guerrero versus WBC silver welterweight champion Selçuk Aydin. Really am hoping to see Perez come back strong, as I believe he does have much to offer the sport and just needs a fine-tuned up fight and maybe a few elements changing to make it back on the big stage again. On the main event, we've seen former junior welterweight champ Devin Alexander put together one of his most impressive performances versus the hard-hitting Argentinian Marcos Maidana. As he picked up a unanimous decision victory, both fighters were moving up in weight to 147, but it was clear that Alexander did transition up in weight a little bit better than Maidana did. Maidana just couldn't seem to get settled and land very many clean shots as Alexander boxed circles around Maidana, landing at will. A performance like what we've seen this weekend is exactly what Alexander needed. After the last 3 fights did leave questions as to whether or not he had what it took to maintain being a top fighter in his division. Alexander stated that after his last fight, though, that they went back to the drawing board to fix what was needed, and a large portion of that being contributed to the weight at the 140-pound limit there. So it looks like this move is a good move for him, and hopefully the Alexander we've seen on Saturday night can resurface again against some of the other top division fighters there. This Monday started off with fireworks as Mayweather-Cotto promotional tour hit San Juan, Puerto Rico as its first stop in the May 5th clash coming up between the two top fighters. Maybe just as exciting as the thousands that showed up for the event were the words that came out of the outspoken Mayweather. The always confident Mayweather stated that he is not a cheater like Margarito or Pacquiao, and that he has the formula for remaining as one of the top fighters out there, and I quote, hard work, hard work, hard work, being the recipe for that. Now, whether they be true feelings of Mayweather or just a promotional ploy, who knows? We do know the ticket sales go on tomorrow, and they do have some catching up to do, as it has been reported that there's only 3,000 tickets left of the Pacquiao versus Bradley fight that already went on sale, and the fight's scheduled for June 9th at the MGM Grand. Looks like Pacquiao is making some major moves both in ticket sales and endorsement deals, as a possible pairing with Nike's Jordan brand looms on the horizon. Money Mayweather may have to pick up a new moniker if Pacquiao keeps this up, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to turn it over to my partner to share his thoughts on other boxing news. Big Steve G, take it away.
Okay, Fight Freaks, this is your boy Big Steve G, the voice of TheTitleFight.com, and welcome to another podcast. Former two-time world champion Ricardo Mayorga is back in the news again. He has met with promoter Don King, and he is demanding a fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. King is currently in negotiations with WBC President Jose Sulaiman to get this approval for this fight. Currently, the WBC has ordered Chavez to face Sergio Martinez should Martinez beat Matthew Macklin on March 17th. As funny and as atrocious as the Chavez-Mayorga fight sounds, don't be surprised if it actually happens. As undeserving as Mayorga is, he always seems to get big money fights and title fights that he hasn't earned, and Don King has a lot of influence with the sanctioning bodies, particularly the WBC. Also, Chavez is known for ducking top-notch opponents, and his promoter and manager are constantly protecting their stock. Mayorga is a big name, and he doesn't pose any threat to Chavez in the ring, so I wouldn't doubt it if Bob Arum and Don King make this fight happen. From now on, we're going to do a segment in which we review a classic bout from boxing history. With the incredible invention of YouTube, most classic fights can be found with the click of the mouse. The other day, I decided to watch the 1994 heavyweight championship match between heavyweight champion Michael Moore and the legendary George Foreman. Moore had won the WBA and IBF titles from Evander Holyfield earlier in the year, in which a very vocal and dramatic Teddy Atlas hounded and scolded Moore in between many rounds and appeared to will Moore to victory. Now, during this age of the heavyweight division, there wasn't a big mega fight that could be made. Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe were both in limbo. Mike Tyson was still in prison, and Lennox Lewis was knocked out by Oliver McCall. Therefore, Big George Foreman stepped up to the plate to challenge Moore. 15,000 fans filled the MGM Grand Garden Arena on November 5th, 1994, and around 14,500 were there to root for Foreman. Moore dominated most of the fight with crisp combinations, and Foreman was able to get in some good shots of his own. However, Moore was outlanding him 3-1, champion in the history of boxing. One of the greatest comebacks and feel-good stories in sports history. Well, that about does it for this session, Fight Freaks. Until next time, this is your boy Big Steve G. Have a great weekend.